Good evening. Good evening. Happy Father's Day, everyone. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff. Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. Pray that all the dads and the fathers, the stepfathers, the foster parents who are dads, those who adopted children who are dads, mentors who are fathers, coaches who act as fathers, of course, the biological fathers, the grandfathers, great grandfathers, anybody who is associated with a child, whether you're related or not related, happy Father's Day to you. And now I'd like to bring on my co-laborer in the vineyard, my co-host and expert investment advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Terry, good evening.
Hello. Happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Happy Father's Day to you. How was your
Thank
day?
you. Yeah, it was good. I didn't really do much. I told someone earlier, um, I'm getting old, I guess, because I don't celebrate stuff as they come up as much. I spend a lot of my time in celebration mode.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so it's good though, right?
Yeah, definitely. My wife and my sons, one of my son's wife and my grandson Giovanni, they took us out to do some bowling. So it was a lot of fun. I ain't gonna tell you my score. It was above 100. I obviously it was above 100, but it was a lot of fun. And actually, I'm at his house right now doing it because we just left the bowling alley about 45 minutes ago. So. But it was a good day, man. Anytime you get a chance to see another day as a father, it's truly a blessing. And shout out to our dads, who are in heaven watching down on us. I'm sure they're proud of what we're doing, giving back to the community. So, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to start off, Terry, by just asking from a global and national level. Since the last time we spoke, there's a lot that's been going on, particularly in the Middle East. How Donald Trump has caused this war in Iran, which, in my opinion, was unnecessary, but also closing the Strait of Hormuz, which really impacted us, our gas prices, and just our standard way of living. And then he had this memorandum of understanding that was allegedly signed, but now it's backed up because the bombing that's going on in Lebanon. And, Trump is saying if it's not resolved in the next 60 days, hell and fire and brimstone going to happen. And I mean, can a dude make up his mind whether when he wants to be sane or insane in the membrane?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about a guy that has no problem lying and says anything that's at the tip of his tongue, right? So he decided to put that water thing at the National Mall,
Right.
and then it went from blue to green almost right away, and then he said it was vandalism, right?
Right. And he blamed the Democrats.
Yeah. And throughout this whole thing, he, said, guess what? I'll stop the war in, 10 minutes. And then
Right.
it's been going on between Russia
Yeah.
and Ukraine.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped. And then he goes in there and does what he does in Venezuela
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
all these different places. And one thing he said to be absolute is oil, right?
Right.
He's
Right.
saying what he's saying, but he also said that we're going in there, we're taking the oil,
Hmm.
we're taking oil from Venezuela, we're taking oil from Iran,
Hmm.
and it's unfortunate. He doesn't care about American taxpayers, right?
No, not at all. He
It's
said that
caused
too. He
yeah,
said.
it's caused massive inflation, and
Mhm.
I guess there's two ways of looking at it. We can look at it and say how terrible he is, or we can, as investors, we're
Mhm.
always looking for the opportunity, and that's probably the right way of looking at it.
Yeah.
right? That at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the market moves from one sector to the other. There are opportunities to make money, and we have to focus there because at the end of the day, AI is a disruptive technology.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, we don't know um, what the impact is. We
Right.
believe it's going to be less jobs. We believe it's going to be less income. How that's going to affect our economy, I am not
Mhm.
sure. And
Well,
nobody is sure.
I can tell you for one thing, AI has caused some massive layoffs with some companies because of the data centers and how things are being automated and eliminating. What used to be done by multiple people is now done by this AI structure, which is evolving before our very eyes. And like you said, 10 years from now, who knows how it's gonna look? But they're trying to build data mines all over the country, particularly here in the DMV. There was a community in the west side of Prince William County. They had this big 1,200-acre of data mines that they were going to build, but the community stepped up, filed a lawsuit, and now it's on hold because you use water and things like that to generate that power. So um, it's ugly and it is impacting millions of families.
Yeah, I won't get into the weeds of this very much, but I'll say what we always say, which is there's a need for Maywood to go through the process and create a strategic plan because AI is going to affect the economy in Maywood.
Absolutely.
And should a data center be part of that conversation? Does it add value or does it take away um, value for the community, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And ultimately, how do these things play? Especially, you don't get the casino money coming in play, and they can say whatever they want to, but there's an absolute need for a strategic plan to address these
No
things:
question.
energy infrastructure, high speed internet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and all those things. And from my understanding, some of the casino money is earmarked just for infrastructure stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to make the call again. The the trustees and the village needs to come up with a process for developing a strategic plan because
Absolutely.
all of these things are important. And what we're talking about tonight, where does the park district land in that
Yeah.
discussion?
Absolutely, and I'm gonna leave this part because we're going to a good time and looking forward to this upcoming conversation. But when you talk about what's going on with the strategic plan, the last comprehensive anything related to a strategic plan, I saw a comprehensive plan still back in 2014, which is 12 years past. The strategic plan, you can say all you want about one existing, but if it doesn't exist on a website, if we don't have access to it, it doesn't exist. I know Mayor Booker did a state of Maywood address or what have you. That's all well and good, but there's nothing that I've seen in writing. So a PowerPoint presentation is not the same as providing the devil in the details. You and I both have that corporate background, so we're no fools, we're no dummies. Neither is the village of Maywood, neither are the residents. The constituents need to know what's going on as it relates to a strategic plan, how the money is earmarked from the money they're receiving in perpetuity from the casino. How are the funds be allocated? What's going on with the TIF money? So for how are you out of debt? I saw the budget for next fiscal year. I didn't see a balance sheet. I just saw line items that lines up to how much each position is paying. But that's pretty much it. That's just a snapshot of how a financial statement should look. So we're looking forward to having Trustee Jones, maybe Trustee Brandon. Need to get Mayor Booker back on here so we can ask some questions so he can answer those for the entire community and not just for people who like him.
Yeah. So on that note, it's been a while, but it's nice being back on.
Yes, sir.
And let's get with it. I see you guys later.
Peace. All right, Terry. Always good talking to you, brother. So tonight we're going to have an in-depth discussion with several members from the community. Two are part of the Maywood Park District board. I'd like to first bring on the former president, I believe she was, of the Maywood Park District, and that is Ms. Dawn Williams. Everyone knows who she is. So let's welcome Dawn. Dawn, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Reggie. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining the podcast this evening. What's been going on with you and your world um, in the village?
Just staying abreast of attending the Park District meetings as well as the Village of Maywood meetings, as well as the planning and zoning meetings, being involved and finding out for myself what exactly is going on in the community. So that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. I know even though you're no longer on the village Park District board, but you're still very active in the community, and that's great to see. So, and yours is natural. You're not doing to try to have, you know, have a hidden agenda. You've always been active, you know, in the community even before you were, you know, a member of the Park District board. So, that's nothing. So, thank you for your contribution and keep up the great work. And we'll talk real soon. Stay there. And the next person I'd like to bring on is Dr. Coach Cheney. Doc, how you doing?
Good evening, Doc. How you doing this evening?
Hey, man, I'm blessed, man. Happy Father's Day to you.
It's same to you, my brother. Same to you and everybody out there. Definitely a happy Father's Day. You know, we deserve it too.
Absolutely. Give us at least one day. I mean, holy camoli. Yeah. So we'll take it. Well, thanks for joining us.
Give
tonight.
us one, huh?
Yeah, we got give it to us.
No
So we'll
problem.
take it either way. It's gonna be for us. But nonetheless, welcome to the podcast, man, and glad you're able to join us this evening. You know, a little background about yourself. Talk for a few moments about who Coach Cheney is as it relates to Maywood and your current role with the Park District.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to, you know, not only talk to you. I'm a big fan. You are the voice. You are the conduit, if you will, of information going throughout the Proviso Township, and I really appreciate that, Dr. Reggie. My name is Rod Cheney. Everybody calls me Coach. I've been coaching and mentoring youth for over 47 years. As a matter of fact, this is my 47th year. You know what I mean? So I love to see all this gray and loss of hair. So it's been a long time. I from Chicago, Chicagoland area. I worked on the west side and so I not only on the west side, but on the south side. So I have a business school, high school. Then we moved to the suburbs. I went to Thornton High School. Okay. And graduated from Thornton High School, played football and so on and so forth. And then went to Indiana State, then, you know, worked on my master's degree, got 2 master's degrees, and now I have a doctorate.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us. Very impressive background. Definitely. Thank you for the kind words, man. Maywood and our youth definitely appreciate your service. Definitely at the Park District level, your leadership. And I understand you were the former executive director of the Park District. Is that correct?
That is correct. Actually, that was my second stint at the Maywood Park District. I was there once before under the old or the former executive director as a program coordinator. And we used the Boys and Girls 200 building. Yep. And provided programs and activities, and we really packed the place. We developed partnerships with the school districts, 88 and 89. We had girls and boys basketball there, and we had a host of activities at that time. I was back in, I don't know, 20. Maybe Dawn can help me out. How old? That was a long time ago. Back in
2021.
2021. Okay.
2021. Okay. Yeah, nice. That was a long time ago. Yes, and so I came back for the second stint because I saw the need. I thought I could help with my expertise and my connections, and I really love that community. I love Maywood. Maywood is just a beautiful bedroom community with a mix of opportunities for seniors, for youth. So I really like that community. I just thought I could bring something to the table.
Absolutely. You're definitely an asset to the community. And thanks again for the work that you put in and the years that you've invested in the youth, as well as the seniors and just the Park District as a whole, because it was something that was, something that we were able to take advantage of when I was growing up in Maywood. So thank you for getting it back on track and making your efforts. So we'll be talking again really shortly.
Thank you so much.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
And so I'd like to bring on our third guest, Commissioner John Rice. John Rice is also a current board member of the Maywood Park District. How you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yourself.
Awesome. Commissioner Rice, can you talk a little bit about who you are and your role with the Maywood Park District for those who may not have seen or heard about you and the great work that you're doing?
I think pretty much everybody knows me as far as what I do in the village. I've been here duration of my life. I have my second term of being a commissioner, and I'm a construction worker pretty much.
Okay. Nice. Did you go to school in Maywood?
I did. Longevity.
Nice. Where?
Longevity.
Longevity. Hold on. What elementary school did you go to?
Washington School.
Oh my God, you a warrior? It's all good.
I'm a Wildcat. No.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's Emerson. My bad.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm with the Garfield, so we won't hold that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us this evening, and we will not be before you long.
So you were there with Coach McCall.
Yeah, Coach McCall, late Lawrence McCall. Absolutely. That man was a gem. I mean,
Yes.
I go on and on about Coach McCall.
Family. I knew all of them.
Yeah, Tabby, and
Yes.
the whole family, and he helped launch my career in baseball before I turned to my ultimate sport of wrestling. But yeah, Coach McCall was a science teacher at Garfield, coach for girls and boys. I mean, just a great guy. Gone too soon, but his name will go on forever. But I want to get started, everyone, by talking about breaking news. Don, I would like to start with you. Don, you shared some information with me as it relates to Mayor Booker. Apparently, he is restricted from using the village vehicle, for personal business, including the purchase of alcohol. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is against the policy. Let me find it real quick. Hold on one second. Yeah, it says that according to Illinois state law, which is the State Vehicle Use Act, elected officials, government officials, and they're not, vehicles are supposed to be for official business only. That one is Illinois state law and local policies prohibit using government vehicles for personal errands like buying liquor. So this falls under misuse of public resources, which can violate the State Vehicle Use Act and local equivalents. So that's what it says. Vehicles are for official business only. It says official misconduct, statute 720 ILCS 5-33-3, a class 3 felony for acts in excess of authority for personal gain or misusing public property. And it's a village ethics rules, a violation of state officials and employees ethics act.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. So with this vehicle, of course, I'm going to ask you, because when we bring information or news, whether it's current or old, allegedly this happened back in April of this year, correct?
Yeah, that was dated April 13th of 2026 at 7:24 p.m. It was a liquor store that was on Westchester on Manheim, 1925 South Manheim Road. And it's the black Jeep with government municipal plates M250567. You can see in the picture, there was somebody that was actually inside the store, and they didn't want it to make it obvious that they were taking pictures. So they waited until he was outside the store, and then you can see the picture there. He does have a bag in his hand, and he's on his phone, and he's going towards the village issued vehicle that he's driving. And so that was dated April 16, 2026. There's been a May's board meeting. There's been a June's board meeting. There's been a couple of special board meetings in between, and none of those issues have been. That issue has not been addressed by the village board at all.
Okay. That's pretty disturbing news, and not to say that this evidence is the all all on beyond um, final piece of evidence to say that he has done this because you're innocent to proven guilty, of course. However, if there are photos of him in a liquor store or leaving the liquor store and using his vehicle, then that sounds like a problem. You mentioned that in the May and June board meetings, this was not addressed. Um, why? I know you're not on the board, but why in your opinion, why wasn't this addressed on?
If you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. So if it's not brought up by your own board, then it doesn't exist. So if CFA put the information out, and there was a mini podcast on that, and the information was put out in the public. A lot of individuals were aware, but it was not addressed by the village board as a whole. It wasn't addressed by the village attorneys. So if it's not being addressed, then it doesn't exist.
Now,
There's
people
no
do
accountability.
right. Yeah, I was going to say people do watch our podcast, even if they don't subscribe or like it. They watch it because we're on Facebook and we're on YouTube, so we know people watch it. Terrence in the background, you see people scrolling through. But from the small size population of the 23,000 residents, Mayor Booker has a really strong following. And when news like this comes, or breaking news comes like this, people will stand behind him, just like when his arrest happened a couple of years ago, his DUI. People stood behind him and things of that nature. Again, and report this news. What do you believe should the next step should be in terms of resolving this issue, so this does not continue? Because apparently, this is the second such incident that's been made public about the mayor of the village of Maywood.
I think what needs to occur is an investigation internally, and also that the vehicle be taken away and the village board have some type of accountability, have the village attorneys or outside agency to come in and do an investigation. Look at the travel logs on the vehicle, look at the security footage, and then also get information from individuals, because there was someone that was there at the store when this was purchased. There's an eyewitness because they contacted and reached out to CFA. And when you have a concern like that, especially with a government vehicle, there's got to be an accountability tool in place. If that was, he is a village employee. If it was a regular village employee besides the mayor, what do you think would have happened? They would have suspended that employee. They would have removed them from driving the vehicle,
Yeah.
and an investigation would have been conducted. During that time, once the findings of that investigation comes, then the consequences and the justification of the action is applied. But so far, nothing has been done to that standpoint.
Right. So I know some of the outspoken people on the board includes like Trustee Isaiah Brandon, Trustee Miguel Jones. They haven't mentioned it either. And I know Trustee Jones is a semi-regular participant on this podcast as a guest. Is this something that you're going to bring up or consider bringing up in the next board meeting as it relates to public comments?
Well, yes, I will. And I know that quite a few other Maywood residents will bring that up as well, because the next board meeting is going to be, I think they said July 14th. So this happened in April. So you've got at least almost 90 days where no one has spoken about this at all or addressed it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully some conclusion will come of this and an investigation will take place, because I don't care how good you think you are or how well you like. When you represent in my hometown, you should do it cleanly, and you should do it professionally, without malice or doing anything illegal. So I'll leave it at that. But hopefully and prayerfully, Mayor Booker comes out of this where everything's fair and he's able to move forward, whatever the direction is taken, whether he remains the mayor or he's removed, impeached, or whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's all about my love for my hometown. So, keep us posted on this news. And so I'd like to transition to, first of all, remind everyone that you are watching Let's Talk Maywood podcast on Diversity Today Media. I am the host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff. I have with me guests Don Williams, John Rice, who's the Village Park District board member, as well as Dr. Ron Coach Cheney, who's also a member of the Park District board. I'd like to address a question that has been in the room. Starting with you, Don, then I'd like to hear from Mr. Rice and Coach about the resident issue as it relates to two individuals. Those individuals are Tavion Johnson and Tanya Butler Smith. So, Don, if you can just start us off, and then, Coach, and then Mr. Rice, if you could just chime in after Coach Cheney, that would be great. Don, please go ahead. What's the situation there?
Well, the situation is that the Illinois Park District holds Section 70 ILCS 1205-211 states that no person shall be eligible to serve as Park District Commissioner unless that person is a qualified elector of the Park District and resided therein at least 1 year prior to election or appointment. So basically, it was brought to CFA's attention February 28, 2026, that the house that Tavion Johnson resided at, 2035 South 11th Avenue, was officially sold, and a new owner has taken possession of the property on February 28, 2026. There's been a March board meeting and an April's board meeting. So CFA did some digging, and we were looking at the water bill records. There was a FOIA request that was sent out for the water bill records as well as the vehicle sticker records. We noticed that Tavion Johnson did not have a vehicle sticker on his car. Also, the water bill record was dated December 31st, 2023 to February 28, 2026. And the water bill stayed the same amount, $58.89, for almost 3 years. So when you look at that, that shows that the house was empty. No one lived there. Now, he submitted nominating petition papers November 18th, 2024 to run for election. So basically, the paperwork that he submitted stating, and you sign a sworn statement that you're abiding by the application that you're submitting for a candidate to be for election. So he submitted those documents and ran for election. People voted, and so he voted at that address. Not only did he vote at that address, but other members of his family that registered at that same address voted, and he won the election. When you look at the vehicle sticker, as well as with Tanya Butler, there's two different cars that she drives. Neither one of the cars that she drives has a vehicle sticker. We looked at the voters registration, and the house was sold February 28, 2026. Well, March 17, 2026, there was an election, a statewide election. And you look at the voters registration, Tavion still registered to vote at the 2035 South 11th address. And he and his entire family are still registered to vote at that address.
Wow.
And they probably voted at that election of March 2026. That was statewide. So now when you look at these variables and you're saying, okay, well, there's no vehicle sticker. You got a water bill that stays the same amount. And it's brought up, by other commissioners. They're saying that there's a concern that this person does not live at that address because the house is apparently vacant. Now the house is sold. There's a new owner that took possession. So the question is, where do you live?
Right.
Where do you live?
Okay. So that's a good starting point. Commissioner Rice, is there something you like? I'm sorry, Dr. Cheney. Cheney, let me go to you. Is there something you'd like to add to that as it relates to Where does Mr. Johnson reside, or just as a board member? Has this been addressed to your colleagues?
It has been addressed, and myself leading off the conversation is that I asked for everyone to give proof of their residency, and one individual did. It was like an uproar with that situation, whereas everybody was on the defensive end, which is the other three people was on the defensive end because the conversation was said to be only one individual, whereas I was saying that everyone at that moment should have given proof of residency as far as where they resided.
Right.
But then they still tried to concentrate on that one individual. Whereas to me, logically, you have a driver license,
Mhm.
you have insurance papers, you have whatever legal documentation that you say.
Utility bill or something like that, you know. Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. But nevertheless, no one gave anything at that moment. Because if you had a legitimate driver's license, you could have given that at that moment. It's not waiting for 30 days or 60 days. And myself looking at it right now, no one has given anything. The lawyer hasn't provided anything. The conversation hasn't came up. Only thing we got a sob story at the board meeting, a sob story, which didn't make a heck of a lot of sense. Only thing I knew that we needed to have proof of every residence that was on the board.
Right.
But they did not do it. And as of this moment of the hour, it hasn't been given.
Has there been a deadline set for them to produce?
The deadline was 30 days, which didn't make very much sense because logically, common sense is that you would have had it the same day of night or the next morning.
Yeah.
If you were meaningful about where you resided, because you have to sleep somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So when was Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Butler asked this question directly, what did they say? Minus the uproar. What did they say when they were asked this question? If it was
It's always retaliation.
What do you mean?
Retaliation as far as where you're trying to get information about their residency. They're not giving anything. And it hasn't been given. Let's say it hasn't been given then nor at this moment.
Mr. Rice, can something be done legally? Report them to the state, for example, for falsifying the residence, instead of if the attorney is not providing information or is seen to be, defending them. Is there something you could do as a board member or as a board as in general?
I haven't got enough votes to do anything as far as I have one vote along with Cook about trying to pursue this. The other three musketeers are the people that are controlling the board.
Sure.
So whatever goes on is the three people that are there controlling the board.
So you pretty much stuck.
Pretty much.
Wow. So you could not, as a board, let me go to Ms. Coach. So Coach, there's nothing that could be done, a letter, for example, to send to the state's attorney's office, for example, to say, hey, we have two members of the board who are on illegally, and we've addressed this. It's past 60 days, and they still have not provided evidence. We fear they are not legal residents. That cannot be done, even as a board member, without the voting?
Yes, it can be done.
So what's the holdup?
It has been done.
Well, no, they tried to have 3 special board meetings to address that issue, and they have not had a quorum. And so what was told to them was that the way that they tried to schedule the special board meetings was to follow board policy, but that was not true. They had 3 separate board meetings to address that same residency issue for documentation to be provided and for it to be brought up for discussion. And it just has not occurred because the majority of the board refuses to have a meeting to have those to be addressed.
Okay, so let me ask my question again. Coach, I'm going to ask you this question. Don, you can chime in if you like. Robert Rules of Order talks about how the quorum is supposed to take place, inclusive of residency of a board, whether it's local, regional, state, national. You're supposed to be able to provide that information, correct? So if they are not doing that, a quorum is when 3 people or more show up at a board meeting. Doesn't have to be a quorum to vote. You just have a quorum to be at the board meeting. And if they are not providing evidence of residency, you do have a right to write a letter to the state representative. With even if they vote not to take any course of action, you have a sworn duty as a board member to take action as an individual because you are a sworn officer, right? Coach Training?
That is correct. Let me go back. Yeah, let me go back and say a couple of things. First of all, I'm the former executive director of the Maywood Park District. I'm not a board member. I'm a former executive director, which I was part of the board.
Yes,
absolutely, but I'm not. But from the expertise part of a park district professional of over 47 years, here's three things: a preamble or prerequisite to this. Yo, anytime that you have any board member that's not a resident, at that time they have to resign that position. Period. That is the state mandate of Illinois Association of Park Districts is clear that you cannot act instead as a commissioner on that board if you are not a resident of that municipality.
Right.
You have to be a resident of that municipality because you were voted by the residents. Now, if it's found out or it is true that you knew ahead of time that you were not a resident, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different thing. But once it's found out, and once you declare that you are moving out of the municipality, you have to, one, communicate with your board, two, immediately resign so the board could go about the business of appointing, a commissioner in your stead.
So thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
You were, as a former executive director, you were ex officio board member, but not a board member who had the right to vote.
Yes.
Got it. So my question is,
yes.
Dawn, do you remember when there was a board member for the Maywood, Bellwood Library Board? Was it the library board? And the board member was no longer a resident because she moved to Florida, was it?
Yeah, it was Felicia Chase, and it was the Bellwood Library. She bought a condo downtown, and it was brought up at that board meeting. The board president read the state statute according to Illinois public library law, and she asked her that question because she said it was brought to their attention that you had purchased a condo and you did not live in the district. The condo was purchased September of 2025. And she no longer resided in the district. When it was brought to her attention, the young lady was on Zoom, Felicia Chase, and she immediately resigned. She informed the board she did not live in the district and said that, yes, she is true.
So did the board have to vote on whether or not the board president confronted Ms. Chase about this, or was it brought to her attention and during that call she asked her and she said no and she resigned?
The board did not have to vote. I was in attendance at that meeting along with Mr. Rice, Commissioner Rice, and the board did not call a vote. The board president addressed the issue. She read the state statute. The young lady confirmed it, and she abruptly resigned.
So, Mr. Rice, as a board member, who's the board president?
Tavion is.
Oh.
So now you understand the shots. I ran through 3 different special board meetings. And then I was told that I was not doing the preparation of the board members because it had to go through Tavion, which doesn't make very much sense.
Who's the vice president of the board? Who's the second?
Tanya Butler.
Oh my God.
I gave you 3 musketeers. I did not give you 3 musketeers. Marcellus, Tavion, and Tanya Butler. 3 musketeers.
Now, see, Reggie, they swore the oath of office on May 12, 2025, to uphold the laws of the Maywood, the Park District and Code, as well as the Illinois state statute. So how are you upholding the law if you're knowingly breaking the law and refusing to be held accountable?
Who's the treasurer?
Wells.
And does Mrs. Butler have a title other than board member?
Vice President, Secretary.
So you have to go through like layers in order to get the attention of the.
There's no attention given because they are controlling everything that moves.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Cheney, Cheney said, there is no state statute that says, okay, so once the Maywood Park District brought it to his attention about the residency issue on April 9th, it didn't say in the state statute, we give you 2 weeks, 3
Right.
weeks, 30
Right.
days to provide residency. So apparently he's under the impression that he can have time to provide residency. So the voters registration for Tavion as of April 28th still showed 2035 South 11th Avenue. Not only just for him, but his whole entire family. Still, even though the house sold February 28, 2026 has a new owner, their voters registration shows April 28th, 2026 still at that address. On April 30th, 2026, his voters registration was updated to a new address in Maywood. But that's still so many days after February 28, 2026. His residency was interrupted on February 28, 2026. He was no longer a Maywood resident. It doesn't say we give you time to find to get
Right.
documentation.
Right.
And that is what this board is allowing, the majority of the board has allowed to occur. So
Okay.
yes,
So his most recent identification shows a Maywood address.
the voters registration shows an updated address in Maywood. Yes, it does.
Okay. So I guess my question is, does he really live at that address?
I have no idea. But just because you have an address, you still didn't meet the requirement because the residency was interrupted February 28, 2026.
Sure.
What state, local governing body would allow that to occur?
Nobody. So Mr. Rice,
Here's the bigger.
Go ahead, Jane.
No, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say here's the bigger issue. All the policy that was voted on, all of the operations that depend on the board's vote.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an illegal member acting illegally, then those pieces of legislation are null and void.
Great point.
Because they are not technically, a board member.
Right.
So that brings that into question. So, like you said earlier, Dr. Ratliff, it's layers here. And to unpeel this thing, you have to start with what the state statute says and abide by that as a park district. And we are a charter, where Maywood Park District is a chartered member of the Illinois Associated Park Districts in the Illinois Park and Recreation Association. So there's mandates that you have to have and have to be accountable for so that you can have your charter.
What does the attorney say? What is the attorney saying when this has been brought to their attention about this residency issue?
The attorney hasn't said anything as far as documentation she says that she received, but I haven't received or seen any documentation saying of legibility of him being of residence. I haven't seen nothing.
So what are the next steps, Mr. Rice? What are the next steps? I mean,
I'm trying to get the state to get involved in this.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. So when will that happen?
There was a court warrant hold that was filed with the state's attorney's office as well as the attorney general's office as far back as March 1st. So they are conducting their investigation. They said that CFA has compiled a very detailed report on those individuals. And it's not just the Maywood Park District, on the Bellwood Library Board, as well as the Files Township Board. So, and the court warrant holds, that's when the state agencies would be able to step in once they finish the findings of their investigation. And they have the authority to subpoena the records that CFA was not able to obtain. you can't backtrack documentation. So,
Right.
for example, if Tavion's, because I think the Park District Attorney did state, well, no, Tavion said it himself at that May 9th board meeting that the documentation, now he admitted at the May 9th board meeting, if you look at the recording, he said he didn't live in the house. He said the house was vacant. It was grandma's house and he had to sell it. He did admit that at that meeting.
That's correct.
And so the attorney, he told the attorney the documentation that he provided for her to her was sufficient. He never allowed the attorney to speak. So, and the documentation, whatever documentation that he has, is after the February 28th date. So
Right.
that still does not fall within the guidelines of the state statute.
Understood. So you kind of really stuck until this investigation is concluded. Is that right, Mr. Rice?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
so
Well, the general public can get involved
How?
and hold them accountable.
How?
And I think that's what needs to happen.
How? They're already they're already on the board. So what can the community do?
they can harp, but that's it's not going to go anywhere because that's what's been going on now. Everybody's been complaining, but nevertheless, it hasn't moved anything.
Yeah, that's my concern. That's my question. What can the community do? Because they can't remove them. There's already investigation. Just they can't impeach him. So it's very unfortunate that this is happening in Maywood. Maywood is trying to do better. You guys, you're giving back to the community, to the youth, the seniors, just trying to rebuild the Park District. And things like this should not be taking place at any time. But I want to ask you a question, Dawn. As we start to wind down this podcast, you're very active, you're very engaged. I'm going to ask you a direct question. You're very vocal about what's happening at the Park District level as well as the village level. Being that you did not win re-election with the Park District, and some people will say that you're this active because of sour grapes, because you're bitter, because you lost, and you had an opportunity to even take the board to the next level, but didn't. What do you say to those who say that you're just triggered or you're just angry because you lost?
Well, they don't know 1989 Dawn, when my grandfather ran for election as mayor of Maywood.
Don Williams, the late Don Williams.
Donald Williams Sr., when he ran his campaign, I was there with him going door to door. When Henderson Yarbrough was campaigning and was the mayor of Maywood in 2005, all the way up until 2013, I was active. And matter of fact, sometimes, I went to every board meeting. And if one of the department heads had said something that at a board meeting, I would come to the next board meeting and speak out in public comment. So I've always spoken out, even when, Henderson was the mayor. That's just when there's injustice that's being done, somebody has to speak out.
Yes.
And if you don't, then who will?
Right.
So it's not about me not winning the election. We're far beyond that. There's a whole lot of things that have occurrences here in Maywood in these different governing bodies. You see what happened at the Bellwood Library. There's someone who didn't live there that was on the board. There's someone on the Proviso Township board who lives in Florida. So, and is also on the Fire and Police Commission for the Village of Bellwood. So it's not just a Maywood issue. It's other towns in Proviso Township and probably in other areas. Look at Tiffany Henyard. So the presidency issue, that is a big problem because there's a lot of us that live here. We abide by the rules. We abide by the law. A vehicle sticker, you got to have your registration. There's laws and stuff that you have in your towns. And if you're knowingly breaking the law, well, is that okay?
It's tough. Yeah, I can attest that you've always been active and engaged. And, I was Mr. Williams, the late Mr. Williams was a mentor. And I say all the time, me and Randy McFarland, Michael Green, a couple other young men who was trying to find our way in life. We would go to Mr. Williams' house on 16th of Maywood Drive on Tuesday evening at 7:00 for Bible study because he was a minister at Second Baptist Church. And for an hour, we eat popcorn and Kool-Aid, drink Kool-Aid, and talk about the Bible. And he talked to us about how it is being not just a young man, but a young Black man growing up in a racist America, and how we can navigate through that and become successful adults. And so we took heed to his warning and his words of wisdom. So I get it. I totally understand that. But now we've come at the end of time of our podcast, and I'd like to thank you again, Mr. Rice, Coach Cheney, and Mr. Williams. I would like to first give you an opportunity to share closing thoughts as it relates to your role and what you'd like to see going forward. First, I'd like to ask Dawn if she would speak for a few moments, and then Coach Cheney, and then the Honorable Rice, since you're a current board member. So first, Miss Williams, the floor is yours.
I thank you for this opportunity. And I understand that we're going to have more podcasts like this addressing a lot of issues that CFA has brought up here in Maywood. Maywood residents, you all live here. Less than 2,500 individuals here in Maywood voted at the last election. We need to get those numbers up higher. You all need to attend the board meetings of your local municipalities, as well as get active in your community. Don't just go by what one person is telling you. Find out for yourself. We all have relatives, grandparents, we have grandkids, and the next generation. We have to groom that next generation to be able to go in our stead and make our town to be how it was that we grew up in. And you have to be active and you have to be involved. There's so few of us that are active, involved, and will speak out. And I am proud that I am that one person that will come out and speak and attend the meetings and get the word out to the community. But we need more people to become involved. Community involvement is where it is. That's how you grow your community, and that's how you get the information out. And people need to be active and know exactly what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate it. Coach, I'd like to give you the floor. Coach Cheney.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ratliff. I really appreciate you being a conduit of information and communication throughout the Proviso Township area, and especially Maywood. My concern is the operations. Maywood has went through a lot of things for the past decade, 2 decades, actually. And you have to value the state statute by which the charter of your park district is a member of. If you do not do that, it's going to be very hard for that institution, which I'm talking about, the Illinois State Parks and Recreation Association and the Illinois Association of Park Districts, to back you when things happen at your park district, whether it be in insurance, operations. It's very hard for them to back you if you do not follow their charter, their basic state statutes. And there's a book right here of state statutes that you have to go by. And then lastly, I just want to say that there's some very hardworking people at the Maywood Park District. I mean, honestly, I'm going to be very blunt here. They bust their butts trying to make this thing work for the community of Maywood. But you have to have good leadership. The basic rules and laws are in place for a reason, so that the community has a voice in how they want to see their park district ran and ran efficiently. If you have people that are not legally on the board, then how can they be on the bank account? How could they sign off on checks? How could they be a policy-driven board if they're acting illegally by residency or whatever? Because now that means that they're not following the mandate of the charter, which questions all the things that they've done under this current board. So, Reggie, once again, thank you for being a conduit of communication to the community, and continue to be that, brother. And I will pray for you as I pray for the Maywood Park District.
Amen. Mr. Rice.
Thank you for having me. My main concern has always been about the board. I do not like what I see for the past 2 terms. It's going on again, the same situation where I was in before with the other people that weren't legitimately on board. And now I have 3 other people who are really, I don't even know where they stay. but nevertheless, the control and how it's ran is really, really bad on the way I see it. As I look at it as being people that are there for their own benefit and their own gain, and then they want recognition for what that individual says that I've done or they have done, and they haven't done anything as far as what I've seen. Because if you look at our projects as a whole, where are we going? What have we been doing for the past year and a half? And the thing about these individuals is that everybody there for their gain. And that's the thing. Why are you there for your gain? It's for the community of Maywood. I've been here all my life, but nevertheless, I'm not there for gain. I always do not want a pat on the back. I do not say I. I will help with any question. Not any question. I will give my time to do what I need to do. But everything that I see lately is about what can I get out of the pot? And that's what I see as being. And hopefully if the residents will come there and voice their opinion about these people on the board and where we're going, that's what I need. I would like them to be attentive on what's going on with the other 3 board members. Ask the question, where do you reside? That's where I would like more members of the village to come in and question that. Thank you.
And thank you. I'd like to thank each of our guests this evening, Ms. Dawn Williams, Coach Rod, Coach Cheney, Dr. Rod, Coach Cheney, and the Honorable John Rice. In conclusion, I'd like to say that, one thing that I was always told by my late grandfather, Stuart Ratliff, my dad, Emerson Ratliff, honesty is the best policy. Be honest even when it hurts. But I assumed that everybody would live by that those words. But apparently, if that's not the case in the case of the village park district, I encourage you, I challenge you to resign. You're not helping the village. If you are not a resident in the village, you're not connected like that. I will always love Maywood. Always. I will always tell people I'm from Maywood, not Chicago. But the fact of the matter is I don't live in Maywood. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm part of Maywood physically when I'm not. So even if you live downtown or another state, disconnect yourself as a member of a board or institution as it relates to a governing body in Maywood, because lies beget lies, lies catch up to you and has consequences. So I don't know Brother Johnson, Tavion. He was on our podcast before. Well-spoken young man, very intelligent, no doubt. But if he's not honest, he should step down without going through a process. Be honest with yourself. I know Miss Butler. Know Mrs. Butler for many years. We were together at Rock of Ages Baptist Church, prayer warriors. We pray in the corner. We're part of the prison ministry at Rock of Ages. We'll go to 26 in California. I always talk about how much God loves those who are incarcerated and in the community as well. Very, very powerful woman. Again, if you're not being honest, you need to be honest with yourself and step down. But again, hopefully that everything that's not right, what's going on with the park district, that it will be righted by being honest. The faster you do it, the better. As far as Mayor Booker is concerned, I know that there's a small segment of people who like him, the work he's doing. I think he has potential to turn the community around, the village around economically. But again, if you're not being honest, if you're not working ethically, you should step down, period. There's only a 10% turnout in Maywood, and that's an indictment on leadership. And I know when Mayor Freeland, who by my standards is the best mayor who ever, took the office, whoever took the oath as mayor. He was the first Black mayor in Maywood in 1982, and then that transformed the whole nation. Other Black mayors were elected across the country because of Mayor Joe Freeland. Just be honest, man. Just resign. I know you won't, because things are going well in the eyes of certain segment of residents. But again, as I grew up, I learned that honesty is the best policy. Be ethical, be honest, and do right. So these conversations will continue, especially as it relates to the park district. And hopefully we'll have some other trustees and ultimately Mayor Booker to come on to back on our podcast and talk about his business with the village and, his future as mayor as it relates to the village of Maywood. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Happy Father's Day to everybody who is in that role. May God continue to bless you and give you strength and patience as you persevere to be the best father you can be. Tune in to our next podcast where we have our next member. Until then, everyone be safe. Be safe with the summers. Stay cool. And God bless you. Good night.